This review is in association with Red Ribbon Reviewers, a site that gives love and support for AIDS. Reviewers, including yours truly and plenty of other reviewers / content creators, also giving their love and support for AIDS. And this year we are supporting Doctors Without Borders. Check out their website and donate money to them. Your support will be greatly appreciated. I'm now a part of the YouTube membership. If you support me and my content, in return you'll get some loyalty badges, updates on new videos, and also get in contact with me on social media and updates on new videos. I'll also give you a shout out at the ending credits of my videos themselves alongside my Ko-fi supporters. And oh yeah, I'm also on Ko-fi. Check out my Ko-fi website. You can get merch on there like posters, and you can see my videos and content on there. Also, support me on Odyssey if you feel like checking out my Odyssey account. And oh yeah, feel free to hype up my video if you actually like my video enough to push the like button and hype up my content. It'll get the word out there. So, if you like my content enough and want to get the word out there, don't forget to push the like button and then push the hype button, and also support me on YouTube, Ko-fi, and Odyssey. And without further ado, let us begin with the show. Hello, my viewers. I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache here. And for this review, we will be returning to the land of Ivan Drago. That being, of course, the Soviet Union. For today, we're going to take a look at their version of The Night Before Christmas. So to paraphrase Ivan Drago a little bit, in Soviet Russia, we must break you. I should probably address that this film has nothing in common with the actual Night Before Christmas that we are all familiar with, either book nor film version. So this film is actually based on a Russian gulag called Christmas Eve, and also goes under the name The Night Before Christmas. So that's why I'm calling this film USSR Night Before Christmas. A blacksmith named Vakula, who falls in love with the beautiful village girl, but she asks him to bring her the Empress's silver slippers to win her love. To ask such an impossible task, he gets the help of the devil, who he captures and forces him to fly him to St. Petersburg, where he will obtain the shoes and return to win the hand of the beautiful village girl.
Everybody got that?
So, what are my thoughts on this film? Well, let's just say this movie throws quite a lot at you. And it's one of the strangest Christmas films I think I have ever seen. The closest thing I can compare this to is that 1959 Santa Claus film, for reasons you'll see later. The film was directed by Alexander Rue. And the film in question, as stated earlier, is an adaptation of the Russian Gulag The Night Before Christmas / A Farm Near Dikanka. And this isn't the first adaptation of this story, as it's been adapted in a 1910s silent film in black and white, and in the early 50s it was made into an animated film. Alexander Ruse also directed other films in the fantasy genre, including The Magic Waver, directed his own adaptation of Cinderella, directed a live-action adaptation of Puss in Boots, as well as Jack Frost, which is most noticeable for being riffed on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, take this, a sheepskin cloak.
Don't mind the dandruff.
I'm not too familiar with Alexander Rue as a director, but from what I've seen of his work, he started out in black and white, and then later transitioned to color, and from what I have seen of this guy's work, he tends to have a lot of elaborate sets, makeup, and costumes, and his fantasy films have quite a dash of weirdness. His work kind of reminds me, like, imagine if you took a little bit of Terry Gilliam's work and his love of fantasy, and if you took a little bit of the costumes and makeup from someone like Terry Jones with the makeup and prosthetics, and you took a little bit of the weird insanity of Sid and Marty Krofft, add it all together, sugar, spice, everything nice, all that stuff, and you pretty much get this guy's work in a nutshell. The beginning of the film is an animated opening with the characters of the film showing up in the starry sky, with the characters' facial expressions moving. And it's a nice animated opening. And looking at this whole scene, it reminds me of the opening to Rankin Bass's Daydreamer, which looks oddly similar to this opening. I mean, vaguely similar because, look, one takes place in the night and the other one takes place in the day. One moves, the other doesn't, etc., etc. After that, we get a book opening in the style of a classic Disney film, which then leads us into the actual story. And the best way I can describe this film, it looks and feels like you're being in a dream. Its world is so surreal and odd, and so devoid of any logic, like the witch stealing stars from the sky. Why does she do this? I don't know. No explanation. For some people, a lack of an explanation is a terrible thing in a story. I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's the film's way of telling me to use my imagination. You know how I said that the film is pretty much a dream? Well, it's also kind of a nightmare because, oh, hi, devil. Yes, there is a devil in a Christmas movie who looks like the live action Jim Carrey Grinch fused with Porky Pig.
Yeah, he's still a better version of the Grinch than Benedict Cumberbatch's version of the Grinch, or Robbie Rodden's version of the Grinch, or whatever the hell that stinking lump of coal that is called the mean one. Ugh.
But rather than him looking like, I don't know, your average everyday devil who's usually red. The closest thing I could compare this devil to is the Cuphead devil, who's usually a bluish, grayish color. But this devil is green and he is furry. And he has a former beef with the blacksmith. How do I know that? Other than the film kind of telling us and later showing us? Well, we get this animated segment shown in the blacksmith's house, which mostly looks like a silly symphony cartoon. And by former beef, we know absolutely nothing about the beef between Vakula and the devil outside of this opening and the fact that the devil tries to manipulate Vakula on his girl. Ho, 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 did Santa send us straight to hell, given how there are two Christmas movies that feature devils, and both of these Christmas movies come out around the same time? And, oh yeah, the devil is only red in the poster, and he gets... Does he fly now? Yes, he flies now. I also like the way he flies. And he flies like he's swimming on air. Believe it or not, he's stroking on air. And he steals the moon. And while the devil is stealing the pale moonlight, it seems that the devil and the witch have a thing for each other. I'll talk more about that later, but I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. Every single character in this movie looks crazily weird. Like, every woman in this film looks like Holly Wheeler from Stranger Things Season 5, like a Russian doll. Every man in this movie has some of the most bizarre haircuts, hairdos, and mustaches I think I've ever seen. And every character in this film looks like a character straight from either One Piece or the How to Train Your Dragon series. And for goodness sakes, even the title main character looks like Mo Howard with his haircut. And the sorcerer who appears later in the film eating Russian dumplings, his mustache doesn't even look real. It looks like straw. This film is so odd and bizarre, but that's kind of what's part of its charm and what makes it so enjoyable. Going back to the devil, his idea of being evil is being childish and gosh darn petty, like causing a snow blizzard and dancing about, making cat noises to trick these two mugs. In fact, this devil has a lot more in common with the live-action Jim Carrey Grinch than I thought. Heck, this thing turns into a cartoon where the devil tries to bribe one of the guys with a bottle of Russian whiskey, like how Tom from Tom and Jerry tries to trick Jerry with cheese.
Merry Christmas! It's a joy to serve Wilkins coffee to so many people at Christmas.
It's a joy to you. You're not pulling the sled.
We're back now. Let's talk about the main couple of the film, Oksana and Vakula. Now, you're probably wondering, why has it taken me so long for me to get to these two, even though they're the main characters? That's mostly because Oksana and Vakula and their whole story and their scenes being rather cute, they're kind of uninteresting, and I could care less about what happens during these scenes. I mean, Oksana is kind of a ditzy girl. I mean, really airheaded. She laughs like she's on laughing gas. And Vakula's pretty much a wimp. When compared to all the crazy stuff and characters around them, they're probably the least interesting aspect. Not to mention, Oksana kind of becomes a psychotic brat as she starts mocking Vakula for trying to commit suicide. It's not till later on in the film where she begins to grow a conscience and starts to feel guilty and starts to think like Thanos, like, Perhaps I treated him too harshly. At the end of the film, she realizes that she really did love him and he really loved her. As for Vakula, he doesn't start to grow a spine until the devil tries to make a deal with his own girl, and he's not at all having it with this devil. And you want to know what he does? He grabs the devil by the literal tail, pulls a Bernard from the rescuers down under, and tells him he's going to take him to St. Petersburg. And out of nowhere, Vakula starts to become kind of a badass as he gets the devil to fly him all the way to St. Petersburg. And when they get there, he grabs him by the tail and forces the devil to stay in his pocket and shrink down, Honey, I Shrunk the Kid style, and just stay in his pocket for that good portion of the film, where he goes to, have you heard? There's a rumor in St. Petersburg. Have you heard? He is going to the palace. He finally gets to the palace and gets snatched up by, I'm guessing, who is supposed to be his friends. And they meet the Empress, who looks like what would happen if Elizabeth Taylor cosplayed as Mary Elizabeth Winston. And we finally get to see her silver slippers. And we see that they're silver, just like in The Wizard of Oz, or Wicked, for whatever that's worth. We get to see that the devil is romantic acquaintances with the witch. And they're about to have dinner, but before we get to any of that, it cuts to carolers. Like, it cuts to them abruptly. Like, how did we go from a devil having a dinner with a witch to literal carolers? These aren't your average Christmas carolers you see in America. These Christmas carolers are taking part in a Russian Christmas tradition called Kaliaski. Hopefully I'm not butchering that pronunciation, where folks, young and old, go outside and wait to be given gifts like Christmas crackers and also food like pies and turkey. And the best part, this isn't something the movie makes up. This is a real-life Christmas tradition that still goes on to this day. There unfortunately are some downsides to this film. For one thing, I was watching a version of this movie without the subtitles, and I was confused. And then I watched a version with subtitles, and I was still left confused because of just how bizarre this film is. I'm pretty sure that even if I spoke the language of Russian, I would still have trouble understanding the context of many scenes in this film because of just how bizarre this movie is. And the subtitles don't really explain a whole lot of what's going on. People make fun of dubbing, but subtitles can be just as bad if not translated right. And some scenes are so weird that they go beyond an explanation, like this scene.
Did I put some mushrooms in my hot cocoa? Well, I didn't, because this scene is weird.
I definitely recommend this film. If you want something different, and I mean really different, added to your holiday movie list, then this film is definitely the movie to check out this holiday season. 5 gold stars. And regardless of how weird this film might be, it's still a better Christmas movie with the devil to watch than whatever the hell Dear Santa is, with Jack Black as the devil.
That's pretty much all your host had to say about USSR Night Before Christmas. But until the next review, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, and make merry, my faithful viewers. And actually make sure to put either some Ovaltine or some actual hot cocoa, unlike Kirk Cameron. Henry R. Mockingbird, signing off.